Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this installment of ASEC Conversations. Today, we are proud to have with us Dr. John Steinbrecher, Commissioner of the Mid-American Conference. At this time, I'll hand it over to our host, Ashley Hammett. Ashley?
Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. You are the only conference commissioner to have served at all three NCAA Division I subdivisions. Now in your 11th year as the commissioner of the Mid-American Conference, how does this milestone shape you today?
Yeah, I'm really moving into my 12th year now, so it'll be my 27th year overall as a Division I commissioner. And really what it means is experience. And I've done a few things a few times, and I guess that gives you a little more confidence in how you go about your business. But I also recognize there's a lot of smart people and a lot of smart young people out there. So I'm probably more established in my decision-making process, more established and understanding of how to lead a conference. And it gets into starting with a vision, having a collective set of goals, and then a lot of communication. You know, you stay in touch with people consistently. You also do a lot of listening. In fact, that may be one of the most important skills you can do is listen. What is your membership telling you? And then ultimately the job revolves around building consensus, not necessarily letting consensus happen. It's building consensus in a direction that is matches up with the goals and values of your organization.
The COVID-19 issue obviously has created extraordinary challenges everywhere, including college campuses. What is the biggest issue for your member schools and their athletic departments?
I think what we're seeing is, to some extent, a tipping point in higher education and probably a tipping point in intercollegiate athletics. And they're inextricably linked because that's how we've set up. We do our athletics programs through our educational systems, which is a little bit unique to the American system, and it's really a neat part of it. Some people look at it as a negative. I think more people, and particularly the people inside the system, look at it as a positive. Clearly what we have is a time of incredible financial stress coupled with incredible unknowns. It's one thing to plan for financial difficulties. It's another thing to plan for them and not know what the future is going to be. Mm-hmm. We don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, or next week, or 2 months from now, which makes it even more exceedingly difficult for planning and trying to move forward. So it's, in my case, it's trying to keep our schools focused on the task right now, which is prepare as if we are going to start our seasons on time, yet at the same time, let's be working behind the scenes and preparing for if we do not do that. And that does not necessarily mean you have every detail buttoned up. There's too many variables, but it's what are your principles? What are your values? What are the things that are going to guide you? What are you going to look to once you finally, some decisions get made? Can we start or can we not start on Labor Day? If we can't, okay, where do we go from there? So you kind of have this big decision tree going with lots of different options off of it, and you try to be prepared for that.
How do you feel about the recent announcements from conferences such as the Big Ten and Pac-12 indicating their plans to limit the 2020 fall sports season to in-conference play only?
Yeah, what they've really done, and I don't think most people have picked up on this, what they've done is they've decided we're going to put a primacy, or we're going to prioritize our conference championship above all other things. What they've not said is we're only going to play 8 or 9 conference games. In fact, if you listen to the announcement system, you've got some ADs talking about, well, maybe we could schedule 12 conference games, or maybe it's 10 games, or whatever it may be. So what they've done is they've dropped all their non-conference games. We're going to prioritize the conference ones. And so we have a series of things that has to occur. One, there's business relationships, there's contractual obligations, and all of those have to be worked through. They're clearly looking to build flexibility into their regular season schedule if we can get going, recognizing that we could lose some weeks along the way. Again, I think it's another indicator to the general public, A, how serious this is, But B, we really need to be asking ourselves right now, why are we playing this fall? Can we play this fall? And why aren't we thinking more and more about the spring? Those decisions are coming up on us, and they're coming up on us quickly.
How will anything but a quote-unquote normal football season affect other athletic programs?
Yeah, that's a good question. My sense would be is if we don't play a football season, we won't play fall intercollegiate athletics. I think they will be all linked together. It's either safe enough for all to compete or it's not. And so then the questions will become, if we can play this fall, is it a full schedule or is it more likely a truncated schedule? Is the schedule start of the season delayed, or do we start on time and try to spread things out? Do we go to conference only schedules? Do we even shorten it from there? Do we change tournament formats? Do we have tournaments? Where do we move national championships if necessary? And exactly at what point do we pull the plug? Again, there's no book that we can open up and say, well, on this date, you've got to decide X. We need to continue to ask ourselves, can we be doing this? And really the bigger issue is, can our universities be open? Can we get students back on campus and back on class? Can we get our faculty members back in the classroom? If those things occur, we'll be able to do intercollegiate athletics. If those things don't occur, it's highly unlikely that we'll be able to have competition.
And if you were able to have competition with students not going to classes, what are your thoughts on that?
That's going to be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really would. Even at a time where most of our campuses during the spring cleared out, we still had any number of students on campus, whether they were international students or students who just made the decision, I'm better off staying put rather than going back to wherever my family is. However, all those classes were virtual. I struggle to see a situation where we're in all virtual classrooms, yet trying to compete on the field. That doesn't seem to match up. Either we can have people coming together in manageable ways, or we can't.
As a conference, what new protocols have you or will you implement with your athletic programs as a result of COVID-19?
We're looking at that right now. You know, among the things would be testing and surveillance programs for the participants, right? So there'll be some, whether it's initial testing as they come in, and then depending on the sport, perhaps it's weekly testing or testing before competitions. Again, depending on the sport, maybe it's only testing every so often. From how we operate the events themselves, will you see coaches on the sideline in masks or facial protection? Perhaps anybody on this, let's say for a football game, anybody on the sideline, the chain gang, ball boys, etc. They very well, in fact, in all probability, would be in masks. The sidelines, in fact, should be remarkably less crowded. If in our league, and I would think most leagues, if you're not either a player or have something to do with game management, you're not going to be down on that sideline, right? We'll do something different from that. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do with officials right now, both in terms of a testing program, in terms of how do they communicate. It might change. You may see them with these space gaiters down around their neck, and when they have to come together or go to talk to somebody, they'll pull that up over their face. All of those types of things we'll work through on a sport-by-sport basis.
You have built the MAC primarily postseason football game agreements to a conference best 6 guaranteed bowl games. What does that mean for the Mid-American Conference as a brand?
What it means is, first and foremost, a great opportunity for our student athletes to have great experiences and be really active participants in postseason football. There's nothing like the bowl season, and all of our bowl partners, whether it's the Fiesta Bowl or the Orange Bowl or the famous Idaho to Potato Bowl or the Arizona Bowl, or take your pick, they are all great experiences that all of our young men and women and coaches and fans enjoy participating in. And as part of the culture of football at the football bowl subdivision level. And so the fact we've been able to grow it, I think it speaks to the growing quality of our football, to the growing awareness of our brand and attractiveness of it. And again, it's just a great opportunity to go and compete against other folks.
You also established a conference-wide comprehensive diversity and inclusion program to accelerate the growth of minority candidates for collegiate job opportunities in coaching and administration positions. Can you tell us about this program and its success to date?
Yeah, we were the first conference to put together a conference-wide comprehensive program, and this dates back 5 or 6 plus years, and it really stems from about 7 or 8 years ago. I saw a school, and this wasn't a school in our league. Their athletics director had left, and they hired a new athletics director in 18 hours. And that athletics director did not come from within the program. And yet this was a public institution, and they talked about affirmative action and equal employment opportunity and those sorts of things. And that did not seem to match up with what I saw. And I had a great person, that's great, but there was no attempt to go out and build a pool of candidates. They clearly were focused on one individual. And to me, it's one thing if that person's in your program, it's a different thing if they're outside your program. And so working through that frustration, we put a working group together, put 10, 12, 15 people of our membership across an array of positions, including students, to talk about it. And what could we do collectively as a league? And where we came to, and we talked about a lot of things, you know, the NFL has that rule where you have to interview minority candidates for positions, things like that. That would not necessarily work in the college landscape because many public institutions, because of state laws, might not be able to enact such a thing. So we thought, let's broaden the pipeline and try and attract and bring a more diverse population of people into the world of intercollegiate athletics administration or intercollegiate coaching. And so how did we do that? We took a 2-layered approach. First was through an internship program across all of our member institutions in the conference office, where we'll have an intern both in the fall and the spring. It has to be a gender or ethnic minority, and it can be an administrative position or it can be a coaching position. And then they do things throughout that semester, and then at the end of the year, we bring them all together and they participate in an array of our governance activities. And so we try to broaden it that way. And then we keep a directory of these people and track them. And as people have job opportunities, our membership and others can request that, go to that, and look at these people as, these folks have some experience, they have some interest, they might be really good people to have. The other part was among our existing administrative group. And let's see if we can turbocharge the careers of our young administrators. And so we set up a mentorship program where we have a junior administrator at each institution mentored by a senior leader. And again, we involve them in activities. They have projects on each campus, and then we bring them into our governance system to participate throughout the year. Again, it's another thing where we keep track of our alumni. It gives them great exposure to not only their own administrators, but administrators throughout the conference, a chance to interact with them, to pick up an array and build on skill sets they may already have, and assist them as they go along to build that collection of mentors, of friends and colleagues they have. You know, my good friend Bob Bodine wrote this book about the power of who. And so clearly the more people you have who know you, who's your who, the more things we do like that, the better we can do to help more people into this pipeline, and we can grow a much more diverse set of coaches and administrators.
Another initiative you spearheaded was that of the conference-wide mental health program. What does this involve?
It was me having a conversation with our student athletes. And I went to them and I said, where are we missing it? Where aren't we spending time or putting attention on? And they came back and said, we think we need to pay more attention to the mental health support of our student athletes. Okay. Again, we put together a working group. We spent about 1.5 years on this. Again, what should we be doing? What's a model program? All sorts of things like that. And then, so we put together a series of minimum standards and best practices. And what we've seen since that point in time was our institutions continuing to invest in this, which is great, because what we know is to be the best student athlete, to be the best they can be in the classroom, to be the best they can be on the field, they have to be in the right place physically, they have to be in the right place mentally, right? The entire person. And so it's what can we do to assist in that? And there's a big educational component because there's such a stigma around mental health issues. We don't treat it like an injury. We look down on it. We're embarrassed about it instead of looking at it as I bruised my elbow or I twisted my ankle. And so we have a big campaign around that about it's okay to not be okay. And working with our student athletes, working with our coaches, working with our administrators on the idea that let's communicate these things. Let's not have any issues with that. Or are there safe places we can go to communicate that and get assistance or share that I need some help? Or can we train people within our athletics programs to kind of be a care team, to be paying attention, to be looking out and say, is there something going on with that student athlete that maybe we need to ask some more questions and things like that? And so it's really built all around that. And as much as anything I've done, I'm very proud that our league has taken a step there. I think it's been of great benefit to our student athletes.
In 2024, the MAC will host the NCAA Women's Basketball Final Four. With the spotlight on the conference, what do you hope will be the biggest takeaway for fans?
A couple things. One, we're going to bring a bunch of people to Cleveland, and most people don't automatically say Cleveland and let's go somewhere and have fun, right? That's just not the first thing that comes to mind. Yet once we get people to Cleveland, they say, oh my gosh, what a great place. And so that's going to be part of it. It's going to be tremendous economic development for the Northeast Ohio region. We're tremendous partners with both the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission as well as Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. The three of us worked very hard and have brought an array of events. This will be the third or fourth NCAA basketball event we've hosted in my tenure in Cleveland. We were supposed to host a first and second round men's tournament this past March, but obviously they got canceled. We had hosted the NCAA Division I wrestling championships the year before, where we had set single session and overall attendance records and revenue records. We've hosted 3 women's bowling championships in Cleveland. I think we've hosted 7 or 8 or 9 NCAA championships. We like to pursue them, one, to bring people to Cleveland. One, I look at it as an incredible professional development opportunity for our staff. It's a chance to do some things that are fun, interact with a lot of really quality people, lifts everybody's game up, makes us a better conference administratively, and gives us a chance to fly our flag, wave our banner, and again, shine a spotlight on the Mid-American Conference and our membership.
Do you have plans to bid on any other NCAA championships in the future?
Absolutely. We're in the middle of a bid process right now. In theory, we're supposed to find out this fall. Because of all the activities going on right now, just trying to get this year underway, I won't be surprised if that's delayed a little bit, but we certainly hope that we're able to get wrestling again and some basketball championships again.
As a student at Valparaiso, you earned a degree in physical education and journalism. How has this early part of your education impacted your role as a commissioner?
My freshman year in college, I was a history poli-sci double major. And I was going to be either a lawyer or probably a history professor, or maybe a city manager. Those were kind of my interests. My father had just taken the position as director of athletics at Valparaiso University. It's where I went to school. So I go through a year, I'm playing 2 sports and I'm going to school and I'm looking at what he's doing. And I didn't know anything about athletics administration, but I saw that and said, wow, wouldn't that be neat? And so I asked around with my professors. I said, help me out here. If I now want to pursue that as a career, what do I do? And today, every school in the world has a graduate program, an undergraduate program. Back then, they didn't. There were 3 graduate programs in the country. We got information from all of them and looked at, and what do they suggest? If you want to go to graduate school and get a graduate degree in this, what should you study? And there were an array of things. I picked a couple of them. Journalism, it's good to have communication skills, writing skills. Physical education, it's probably the discipline most closely associated, exercise science, that sort of thing, to coaching, to actual physical performance. So we went with that, picked up a business minor, and that's how we ended up there. And those have provided good, solid, bedrock educational experiences that have helped guide me.
An all-conference and academic all-conference selection in football and a conference champion in tennis, you were named Valparaiso's and the Heartland Collegiate Conference's Student Athlete of the Year as a senior. What was your favorite memory as a student athlete?
That's a really good question. Again, I was fortunate that I was able, and my coaches allowed me to play multiple sports, which is unusual. Because I've always played a bunch of different sports, and I'm the only person in my school's history to play the football tennis double. I mean, that's kind of a weird double. I was fairly small. I was fairly fast. Tried to survive football. Run fast, catch the ball, and get down before someone broke me in two. And then tennis was just great. And then as I've gotten older and I've watched it, I didn't appreciate it at the time. You kind of played the ultimate team sport, both in football, you've got a bunch of people on the field that have got to do a lot of things together for things to go good. And then from an operational point of view, it's like moving an army. So it's very regulated, very regimented. With tennis, it's, again, great individual sport. You keep team score, but it's an individual sport. Travel-wise, we'd hop in the van and we'd go, and if we were 2.5 hours down the road and you got hungry, say, Coach, hey, could we stop and get a bite to eat or something? Things like that. I truly remember winning my conference championship in tennis was very, very special. That was a great experience. And then in football, the last pass I caught in my career, my final game, was about a 50-yard touchdown pass. And so how about that?
And then what is one word that you would use to describe yourself?
Dogged. I have a saying I use with a lot of people, keep grinding. And it's every day. It's just keep going at it, keep going at it, keep going at it. It's not about hitting home runs. It's let's hit singles and doubles every day, singles and doubles. Let's keep the ball inching down the field. And, let's try and be as creative as we can be and see what we can do to differentiate ourselves from other people out there. Our mental health program, our diversity and inclusion program, our academic consortium, and then you throw that on top of all the great accomplishments of our student athletes and things like that. I just try and keep after it as best I can.
Well, those are all the questions that I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you again for joining us, Dr. Steinbrecher. It was truly an honor to have you with us today, and congratulations on ending your college football career with that 50-yard pass reception. I think that's awesome. I love that story. And for all of you who joined us today for ASEC Conversations, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.